Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Porteous, and I'm joined by Sweet Shanta Kovacs from the internet.
It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
And unfortunately, Bruce Leslie can't be with us today because he got himself a new house and is a little bit busy. He's a little bit, you can't come and slum it with us for a little bit. I mean, he's got more important things to be doing. So we've
moving with the 17 kids he has, like, oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Oh, and if you've been listening to any of the Dinger Zone early, you know there's some frustration with it's just like, you gotta, you love your family, but at the same time too, can't we throw some stuff away? Boy, do I know how that's like. So best of luck to Bruce, but we'll be taking this one on by ourselves, boys and girls. And you know what time it is? It's the end of the month, and what do we do every single end of the month? That's right. We put it out to the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP, and we say, you guys, you get to tell us what we vote on. And I'm going to say something that I'm super excited about because someone...
Oh, really excited.
Yes, someone mentioned it. And I think that's a much better way. So starting next month, we're actually going to do some outside. So Patreon itself has a voting process, right? Just a little poll saying, click whichever one that you like. But someone got me thinking and said, hey, why don't we have something that's like weighted choices? So, we can, just to make it a little bit more even, a little bit more competitive with all the films. So instead of just going, hey, I'd like to have this one, you're like, here's my first choice, second choice, third choice. And then through that, we'll be able to, even out stuff. So we can, you'll get a little bit of chance for everything. So we'll be doing that next month. But
I wish that we could do that in real life, a weighted vote.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Yeah, people, I think, would become better when we do
a lot less
like
people voting for Popeye.
That's true. So here were the choices. We had JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Underdog with Jason Lee, our perennial all-star of The Spirit with Sam J. Jones. I will say this, no one voted for Marmaduke, so either people don't know what Marmaduke is or they're smart enough to get away from it. Either or.
No, I think that they have taste. I think that's why they didn't vote for it.
Marmaduke, no thank you.
Should I vote for these movies that are alluring and weird, or should I vote for straight garbage?
Yeah. So JoJo's Bizarre Adventure came in the third place here. Then tied for second was The Spirit and Underdog. But winning out is Priest, the movie from 2011. Something I thought I'd seen before in the movie theater, but we'll get into a little bit of that in not too awful long. But again, thank you to all of those who support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Thank you for voting. And of course, as we always say here, it is a value for value model. Whatever you...
we don't say that.
We do. We're a podcast
We
unit.
do not. You do.
Right.
That is a straight up Porteous fastball right there. Let me talk about something that doesn't actually mean anything at all.
Oh, but it means everything, Sean. It means whatever value they got out of this show and all the shows that we do throughout the entire month, put a number value on that. Even if it's $1, it's $1. Whatever you find that you value. If we disappear tomorrow, what would you pay to get us back? If it's $1, it's $1. If it's more than that, it's more than that. We'd like to thank everyone for every dollar that they have supported this show with and all that good stuff. Oh, and speaking of support, even if you can't do that, why don't you be like, I don't know who this person is, but we don't sell a ton of merch. We have some merch. Links are in the show notes, but someone actually bought one of my Never Forget stickers, which was a picture of David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury. And underneath it said "Never forget 1998 to 1998."
Well, wow!
So I made a cool 50 cents off that sticker sale. So it ain't much, but it's a living. So if you don't want to do that, click on the little Shop Now button in the show notes and pick yourself up a shirt or a poster or some stickers, whatever you want, man. I designed all that crap for better or for worse. And
that does sound like value for value.
It does. See, I do it for nothing, essentially, and it's just something that's fun.
Words that mean nothing, I'm going to say them. Words and more words.
Oh, I've got more words than you could even imagine, my friend.
I do not doubt that at all, sir.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. But let's say let's just say, for example, you can't monetarily give. That's perfectly fine. You know how you give value back? You go over and rate us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And this one comes to us from, this is one of the best names ever, Jersey City Frankie. And if you're from Jersey City, my guess is your name is probably Frankie anyways.
Haven't you already said this one?
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Maybe I did. Maybe I thought there was another one. I'm reading it again. I don't care. It says substance. I feel like maybe I saw the review and thought there. Now you got me off my game. Whatever. Jersey City Frankie, you got double,
that
buddy.
You read this one out last week, bub.
Maybe I did. All right. But anyways, go do that. Be like Jersey City Frankie and a couple hundred people that have gone and reviewed us on iTunes. We appreciate that and all you fine folks. Let's get into it, boys. Here is the trailer for Priest.
I come before you because I need my authority reinstated. This was a vampire attack.
Get her down below!
Whatever you hear, don't scream.
The citizens have complete faith in the church's ability to keep them safe. You will not shake that faith.
What good is that faith when it's a lie?
If you take any action to leave the cities, you will be stripped from the order and excommunicated immediately.
The war is long over.
It's not over. Not for me. Is this the world I fought for? No, but it's the only world we have left.
One of your own has broken his sacred vow. You will find him dead or alive.
They bred a new army.
You're too late, priest. This is their time now.
Is it true what they say about priests who wield the hand of God?
You have no idea what's coming, priest.
All right, everybody, that was the trailer for Priest from 2011. Bruce is not here this week, but you know what? That ain't stopping us from giving you a comic book connection. No, sir. Adams.
Comic book connection.
Well, it's come to this. You ever see the we have blank at home meme? Me, I want a Bruce Leslie comic book connection. Mom, we have a Bruce Leslie comic book connection at home. Then you'd see a picture of me with the caption, Bruce Leslie comic book connection at home. That's what you're getting here. It's a comic book connection, just not exactly a Bruce Leslie comic book connection. Priest. Priest is a 1998 manhwa created by Huang Min Woo. Did Adam just mispronounce manga? How dare you? Manhwa, from my very limited research, is a Korean version of manga. The term manhwa came into popular use in Korea during the 1920s when it was applied to cartoons. Korea was under Japanese occupation from 1910 to 1945, and during this time, elements of Japanese language and culture were incorporated into Korean society. By the mid-1920s, most political newspapers were shut down, and political social cartoons were abandoned in favor of children's and humorous illustrations. The popularity of comics rose during the 1950s and 60s, and with the diversity of styles and subject matter, led to the creation of new genres such as Sung Juan or Soon Jung, romantic stories that are aimed at young women. They also had comic cafes and stores that allowed readers to pay a set rate and sit and read comics. Now, in response to increasing publications of comics as well as social and political changes within South Korea, the government began to enforce censorship laws. By the mid-1960s, they created comic book distribution monopoly that further censored manhwa.
Because things that are different scare us, we don't know crap about Korean culture in the Western world, and that has caused the word manhwa to remain somewhat unknown to the English-speaking world. I mean, I can barely pronounce it, for heaven's sake. English translations of manhwa have achieved success by targeting manga and anime community to the extent that manhwa was marketed as manga by American publisher Tokyo Po. Hyung Min Woo, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, was born April 14th, 1974. He's a South Korean manhwa artist best known for Priest. That's his entire Wikipedia page. Seriously, that's it. So I'm going to assume that he was some sort of secret agent who retired and decided to make comic books. Surely that's not true, but all of Wikipedia is going to tell me I'm just going to spice it up a little bit, you know? So Priest tells the story of humanity's battle against 12 fallen angels. The angels descended to earth to play God among humans, who built a temple and statues in their honor. For their rebellion against him, God destroyed their temple, imprisoned their souls in statues, and buried the statues underground. Centuries later, a holy knight named Vaskar Degalion, sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, he loses his family and wanders the earth in a blood rage. He discovers a cave containing the statue of 12 fallen angels. Here's another fun name for you. Timozalera convinces Vaskar Degalion to give up his body to the angel to take revenge against God. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there that I'm going to be honest with you is just going to be a lot of names that I'm going to mispronounce and stuff because, hey, let's be cool and make names that Adam can't pronounce. All I know is that this sounds like a 90s comic book to me. Now, the art style can only be described as that one kid in high school who loved comics and anime was decent, but not a great artist. Really angular, out there designs that look like something the late, great Steve Dillon might have done when he was 12, you know, before he got really good. So, have I read any of the books? Well, what do you think? Now, in 2007, Dream Theater released an album called Systematic Chaos, which contains the song In the Presence of Enemies, Part 1. It's an 8-minute guitar nerd song with a dime store Bruce Dickinson. Come at me, Dream Theater and Iron Maiden fans, I don't care. But apparently that was, you know, to a degree based upon the Priest comic or something like that. Who knows? Now, in 2011, Priest came out, and that is an action horror film that is loosely based around the comic, but is supposedly in the comic's far future. It's directed by Scott Stewart and stars Paul Bettany as the title character. The film was released on May 13th, 2011 in 2D and 3D. A prequel comic, Priest Purgatory, was begun in an attempt to bridge the original comic to the movie, although it was never completed. Min Woo Hung has largely supportive of the movie, praising its visuals, even if missing the comic's philosophical aspects. And that is my best version of a Bruce Leslie comic book connection.
Adam, you were growing up right before our eyes. That was terrific, sir. Very good job by you.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing, and as we were talking before the mic started rolling here, we both thought we'd probably seen this movie before.
Well, the problem is that there's a movie called Legion.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with the FX TV show. It's about an angel, and the archangel Michael, and so it's mixed up in my head. You know, I when this was first pitched, watching this, I thought I knew what I was in for. And I was very pleasantly surprised that it is a very different movie. That doesn't mean it's good, but it is different. And I had that moment where, you know, I was like 5 minutes in when he's in that city and it's like, wait a minute, I haven't seen this movie at all.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to show you how the sausage is made, I am usually doing something else as we're watching a movie that I have seen before or that is going to be terrible. I put down my device and watched this all the way through, which again doesn't mean it's great. It was just surprising, and that is all I can ask for. And during the apocalypse here, is that like, oh, you've surprised me with something, because I thought I knew what I was getting into, and I had no idea. And so, and I had seen Legion, and I remembered thinking at the time when I saw it, like, oh, man, like somewhere there's a 12-year-old kid who thinks this is the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought that that's what this was. And the problem, well, you get into it. You get into your history with this movie, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, so mine's exactly the same. I thought this was I mistook it for Legion, and oddly enough, Legion was his movie prior to this. The director, he did Legion just the year before. So Legion was kind of it's sort of a small flick, and for better or for worse, it's kind of just what's it called? Night of the Living Dead, right? Because they're stuck inside this one location. All the zombie horde is on the outside. Or, I say zombies in quotes, but they're all kind of coming in and stuff, and they have to defend themselves. And so, again, that's I thought much like you that this is the same thing, because the director has a very specific style to him, and of course, using Paul Bettany in both movies doesn't hurt the confusion either.
It does not help at all.
So I'd never seen it, and I'm kind of glad that they said this, because at least it gives me something else to compare this director's work with. And he got a lot bigger budget on this bad boy as well. This one was $60 million for this.
Well, this one also is the biggest budget for New Line at the time, right? I mean, this is the biggest budget New Line movie ever made, I think.
It perhaps.
At least at the time it was. And so going into this, like, how do you feel about Paul Bettany as an actor? Do you like him?
I always want to like him. I think he does. I think he's a very capable actor. I don't know that he always picks great roles. I mean, how much difference is there between this character and the character that he played in the Da Vinci Code? And not a lot.
Well, that's an excellent question.
You know what I mean? It's like it's the same thing.
That's an excellent question.
He was in Legion, and it's basically it feels like the same darn thing.
It does. This feels like more of the same movie as Legion, for sure. And the thing about Paul Bettany is that when he is good, he is great.
Mm-hmm.
He I really like him as Chaucer in A Knight's Tale. He's the best part of that movie, in fact. But he really does have just a very weird biography, like he's in Master and Commander, he's in all the Marvel movies. He's the bad guy in Solo. But he has he's kind of always the same person.
Yeah.
I can't tell. Is he trying to do an American accent in this movie?
I'm not sure what anyone's accent's trying to do in this film.
Well, shoot.
I don't think it's just him.
I can't tell if that's what he's going for in this, because it's not his full-on accent, like his natural accent that he has. And so that part is hard to lock down. But him in Beautiful Mind, like, he's great in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see him in something like Firewall, where you're like, what are you doing in this movie? You are way better than this. But I don't know if he is. I think that he's kind of like, he's perfect as the Vision, right?
Oh,
he's
yeah.
perfectly cast as that. He is not perfectly cast in this movie. He is not this guy. He is not the toughest guy in the world. You need someone who looks like that they've been in multiple knife fights and barely survived. And he is not that guy. And so it's kind of miscast. And I know that they were going for, they wanted Gerard Butler for this movie. And they tried to cast him, but things just didn't work out. And Gerard Butler is, how do I put this? I want to be charitable. When he is in the right role, he is good.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been in the right role, and let's call it 15 years. And so when you have like he would be great in this movie, but just from Gerard Butler being in it, I would already give it one tick less of me wanting to see it.
Yeah.
Because, Gerard Butler's in that, I'm probably never going to see that. But I wasn't going to watch this anyway. So, having Gerard Butler in this would make it a better movie. And that sounds so weird to say, because I think, you know, I just think Paul Bettany's a far better actor.
Yeah.
And for reasons I can't truly explain to you, I just like Paul Bettany more. But Gerard Butler is the right answer for this movie.
Now I want to see Gerard Butler as Vision. I mean, like in his current shape and everything. That's the best part, too. I will say this. You want to see a good recent Gerard Butler movie that I think just about anybody will like. Check out Den of Thieves.
Oh, really?
Oh, so good. That movie's great. He's great in it. Ice Cube's kid is fantastic in it. Like, oh my gosh, he's so much a better actor than Ice Cube could ever imagine to be. O'Shea Jackson Jr. so good. That kid.
Well, you know I'm a huge fan of O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Yeah, he's fantastic in it. That whole movie, I think you'd really, really like that. It's a really fun time. Great kind of hard boiled cop movie.
Reco, thank you.
Den of Thieves. Check it out. I think it's on Netflix. But yeah, he's kind of a weird choice. And then you've got, listen, his performance in this is odd and strange. But Karl Urban is just he's just cool. I like him in whatever, even when it's garbage like this.
Well, did somebody say to him that, like, here's my question with Karl Urban in this movie? Did somebody say to Karl Urban, look, just do Clint Eastwood?
Yeah,
because that's what he's doing. He is the man with no name in this movie. And that does him no favors. That does Karl Urban no favors because he's such a terrific actor. And he's good in damn near everything he does because I can name off the top of my head 5 things that I love him in. And I don't love him in this. And it's because he's being Clint Eastwood. You know, he's basically doing Rango, the voice of the West. Is that the character in Rango? Anyway, that's basically who he is in this movie.
He's a New Zealand. He's Kiwi Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, and it does him no favors. The character is a cardboard cutout.
And it's so broadly written and everything. And I think that's one of the main problems for this story itself is that it's so broad, it's so out there that it's kind of it doesn't put one foot in reality almost at all.
No.
To where you can kind of relate to what's going on. It's got a weird, and this may be me kind of reading into it because I'm halfway through the book right now, but it certainly starts out with a very 1984 vibe to it, but doesn't really capitalize on that too much. And again, when you watch this movie and get to the end, you'll find out that, oh, they definitely wanted to do sequels and stuff for this, but the box office said, oh, no, you don't. Because this thing made like absolutely nothing at the American box office. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was the story was kind of all over the place. You feel like you're in this one part, and then it goes, hey, we're going to make it more about characters than we are particularly story. But the problem is that the characters aren't necessarily all that engaging.
Well, you know, I here's how I'm going to explain it if you haven't seen the movie. Is that it's a gigantic mess. It's every trope you've ever seen in a movie about the apocalypse. Everything is there.
It's dirty.
And if you're man, it's like the Kate Beckinsale movies, Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Underworld, but not as good.
Yeah, and that's saying something because sorry, Underworld fans, but those movies are trash.
No, the first one.
The first one's okay. I'll admit the first one's okay, but they're not. No one would go like, "Ooh, the highest of brow."
No, well, no, but I mean that's not what it's there for.
True.
You know,
it's for new metal guys to go.
It's kind of like in the vein of your Jumper or your I Am Number 4, where they are building out this giant world for you. And that part of it is fun, where you are seeing this version of an alternate Earth in the future, and there's been a war with the vampires that's been going on for 100 years, and clearly at one point humanity won, and this is humanity trying to move on, and it is a mess. there is a lot of things about this movie that are the things that I hate most about movies. But for some reason, I'm okay with it anyway. There's something fun about this. And I can't tell if maybe it's because I was taken aback from it that this is not the thing that I thought it was. So I'm being more charitable than I generally would with a movie like this. But there is something inherently fun. Like, I really like their bikes that they're traveling in the desert in. I think that's great. Those are very cool props.
And they're big,
and they're practical. They're actual motorcycles.
Yeah, and they're all pushed up as like these electric things, and you hear them kind of wind up with their little electric kind of going up, and they're real neat. They have nitrous on them, so why not? Which I thought was the greatest
I could go
thing.
the rest of my life without hearing about nitrous ever.
Oh
again.
boy, I wish
Or
Vin
NOS
Diesel would pop
or any
off
of
and just show up. Hey guys, what's up?
But there is something fun about this movie, and I think that the fun and games of the world itself is what makes it so cool. I imagine that if you are someone who is angrily religious, you would hate this movie. I think that if you are someone who is an atheist, like hardcore atheist, you would hate this movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the Team America World Police problem, where whose side are you on? Like the movie doesn't really let you know, and that's kind of what I like about it. Is that it's like I'm militant in neither way. I am more of the thought, hey, if that's what you need to get you through the day, good for you. If it's going to make you a better person, awesome. High five. But for people who are militant about their belief system, this appeases neither camp.
I'll say this. I think it would probably, at least from like a religious standpoint, I would say Catholics will probably be most irked by it than anybody. I think regular Protestant people would be like, yeah, that's those crazy Catholics over there. Look at all that stuff. At least that's my perspective, where they would just go like, you see, that's why we don't do all that stuff that they do over there in Catholicism. We're smart. Of course, that's what everybody thinks about their religion.
Having been brought up Catholic, I could tell you that 99% of Catholics aren't militant about being Catholic.
Yeah.
At least American Catholics. There's the Ireland, Northern Ireland thing, but in America it doesn't work like that. So what I'm wondering is, if you are devoutly Catholic and you are watching something like this, do you give it a pass because it's fictional, or are you angered by it? I can't really tell.
Beats it, yeah. It's confusing to me, but not being Catholic, I couldn't tell you. But I sat back just going like, I bet Catholic people hate this. Be like, that's not how it would go. Like, well, it's like, yeah, it's in the weird, crazy, far future. I do want to talk. Let's talk about a couple people that were in there for like a good hot second, that were clearly there to raise the profile of this movie, and we're only clearly on set for maybe 2 or 3 days at tops. I mean, you got Christopher Plummer in this bad boy, just slumming it in the slums. And like, this guy would, go on in a couple years and get an Oscar nomination and stuff. He's in this movie and at least he's delivering. He's given a great performance for what little bit of content he's got to deal with. So
this movie doesn't need nearly as much gravitas as a typical movie like this, specifically because you have Paul Bettany in it. But having Christopher Plummer, it raises your stakes a bit here. And I had totally forgotten that Christopher Plummer is in like Star Trek, and like he's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But it kicked all that back up, like, in my brain pan of like, oh right, Christopher Plummer does a lot of like science fiction fantasy stuff. And so I would imagine that the 2 days he was on set, he was very businesslike and let's get this over with kind of a thing. But man, it was good to see him in this, and I do like that role. And let's just get into it here. Is this is the game is afoot, if I can steal from the Weekly Planet here.
Yeah.
That they wanted to make a whole lot more of these. And I wonder if Christopher Plummer would have a much more expanded role if they did go into a sequel.
Feels like they definitely would.
Say what?
Feels like they definitely would as far as sequels go, that they were kind of
Sure.
like, well, we'll get him for a hot second, and once this movie really hits, then he'll come back for the sequel. We might get him for 10 days.
Right. And it makes me wonder if this had blown up. I mean, are we looking at something like your Alec Guinness in Star Wars, where he's like, this thing is an anchor around my neck and I hate it? Or is he like, hey, what a surprise. This is very nice. I wonder. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We also got Brad Dourif coming back up in here. Get a little Lord of the Rings connection with you, Carl Urban. Why not?
Also, without Bruce here, I feel the need to say this from Huntington, West Virginia.
That explains a lot, really.
Nobody has done crazy so good as Brad Dourif has been doing it for 50 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just
He's
amazing.
just terrific in everything he does, and he goes all out every time, even when he's the voice of a doll that's murderous.
Yeah, oh, he's so, like, him as the voice of Chucky is just so amazing, and what he's done over those films, he really is, like, for better, for worse, and some of them, like, suck, and some of them are, I mean, surprisingly pretty good when you even get into, like, kind of some of the, like, the last 2 or 3 Chucky movies were actually pretty decent. I was shocked at how good they were. But he's a big factor in that, and just one of those dudes who's always delivering no matter what he's doing. He did an episode of the X-Files that is just, he may have gotten an Emmy for that, I think, or was at least nominated, where he plays this guy on death row, and he's, oh my Lord, so good. I think it's like 2nd or 3rd season, something like that, but just fantastic. And we got Stephen Moyer in from True Blood fame. This is kind of like the height of True Blood and everything. So they're like, let's get him in for a day, because clearly he was there for a day and that was it. He's fine, but again, it was another like, oh look, a famous face that I'm aware of, and certainly in 2011, like that's a hot handle right there. But
so Brad Dourif, sorry, I was looking it up. Brad Dourif never nominated for that X-Files thing.
Should have been. I'll put it that way then.
He has been for Deadwood and the Lord of the Rings and all the other stuff that he's in.
The big profile stuff, as opposed to a 90s Fox television program. That's fair. About monsters.
Look, I think Electric Kid is probably the high water mark of that show. But anyway, I
Cranston got an X-Files episode under his wing.
He sure did.
Mm-hmm.
So there for all of your Brad Dourifs, for all of your Christopher Plummers, you've got people who probably shouldn't be acting. I mean, they should be models. They should not be acting.
Yeah.
Like your, I don't even know how to pronounce this dude's name. Cam Gigandet.
I'm gonna say Gigandet, something like that. Where's he from? Is it probably French or something? No, Auburn, Washington. What the heck? Okay, I don't know. Yes, no, he's a very handsome man, and he's not a great actor. You know what?
I cannot tell you how much I looked past him in this movie. And that character is supposed to be the heart and soul of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he is by far the weakest link in this movie. And so, he's the one who finds the priest, and he's the one who, is basically the engine of this movie. And he needs to be put in a scrapyard. He's a very good looking boy. He looks good in the costume, but he is a horrible actor.
His casting felt to me like when I was casting a movie in film school, right? You had people come in, and every now and then you'll have somebody who you just connect with. They just have a great personality. They're fun to be around, and like, you know, it's not even the acting that, you know, that you're kind of connecting with. It's them as a person. You're like, I like that guy's vibe, or that chick's pretty cool. I could see working with this person. And you end up hiring that person, and you go, maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to the acting. Because while this person would be fun to hang out with for 12 hours a day shooting stuff, when you look at the final product, it's like, ooh, well, I mean, granted, it's something that we're shooting for free and everything, and these people aren't, you know, they're all starting out in acting, you know, just doing a free short here. No one's being paid for anything, so you can't expect, you know, Laurence Olivier to come up in there. But at the same time, too, you're like, ooh, we probably should have read a little harder, don't you think? Just to make sure exactly what we've got here. Maybe he's one of those guys. Maybe he's just a real friendly dude, and you're like, look at him. He's good looking. He's fun to be around. Why not? And then they get on set, and they're like, oh, shoot, he's not a great actor, is he?
He is nothingness in this movie. It's not even that he's bad, because he's not bad. There's just nothingness.
He's white rice with nothing on him.
He really is. You look past him immediately and often.
And you're like,
and then there's Maggie Q, right? And Maggie Q's in this. This might be the only thing I've ever seen her in where I was like, hey, she's good in this. I've never seen anything with her in it where I've gone, wow, she really is great in this.
No, but at the same time too, she's never really someone who's terrible.
I agree. She's not terrible. She's passable. She's not, I mean, she's not even the worst, not even close to the worst part about this movie. It's just that she is the, she is the person in every movie that is this. Like, this is who she is and everything. And that's not a bad thing, but it's not something where I'm like, wow, she is remarkable.
Yeah, it's another pretty face.
I've never had my socks knocked off by Maggie Q.
No, you got like the Divergent stuff is the only thing that I can think of that I remember her from specifically. I thought for half a second she was a Bond girl, but that's not true.
Going to pretend that I saw that movie. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Adam.
Hey, listen, I'll say this for anyone that's listening. They ain't the Hunger Games, but they ain't half bad.
I'm sure that they're okay. I mean, they've made what, 4 of those movies?
Yeah, they tried to make a 4th, but that was hilarious because they were like, well, we don't want it to go to theaters. We're going to do it on television. And all the stars were like, well, if it's going to TV, I ain't going to be in it. And so that kind of kiboshed all of that real fast. So they were like, oh, you don't want to do some for TV? All right, I guess we're not doing this project anymore. Fine. But that that
sounds almost like this movie, because this movie was in development forever, and it looked like once Gerard Butler pulled out, and the director that they had signed on, who I can't remember who it was, they were going to pull the plug on this, and then they were like, oh, hey, wait a minute, we've got the guy from Legion and the star from Legion. Let's just make that. Let's make this movie like that.
Yeah,
and so that's basically how we were able to see this thing. And I'm kind of, I'm glad that we were, I know I sound like I'm slamming on this movie. This movie is fun. This isn't going to change your life. This isn't something that it's going to offend your senses, especially if you're into this kind of genre movie. Calling this a horror movie is giving it a whole lot of credit. There is nothing scary about.
We say the word vampires a bunch. There you go. There's your horror element. If you believe that a vampire movie is inherently a horror movie you have got. I guess.
Well, there's nothing even remotely like even thrilling about it. It's your standard post-apocalyptic actioner, and that's fine. And, that's what it is. And some of the things in this thing, you're just like, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. That's cool. I'm glad I saw this.
Nor would you think that any of the vampires are picture a vampire in your head. That is nothing what the vampires in this movie look like at all.
No, I mean, they look like I Am Legend if anything else. I mean, they look like the creatures in I Am Legend.
Yeah, I Am Legend or Legion, the previous movie from this guy 1 year earlier.
So true.
Because it feels the monster design here feels so much of his style, and it looks like a fluke monster. They're just a big gelatinous kind of squishy looking creature without eyes, and like I think he loves creatures with no eyes too. That's another reoccurring bit in his movies. Was like, hey, they can't see anything. It's just a mouth with jagged teeth that's screaming at you. Isn't that scary? It's like, yeah, but where's the rest of the story? Shouldn't there be a story?
They're also moist.
Yeah. Oh, everything's always wet. And it turns out that this guy is the director. He was one of the guys, I believe, that founded the effects company, The Orphanage. If you sit around and watch credits and stuff, yeah, Orphanage comes up all the time. They're one of the, and that's such an amazing little aspect of movie making over the last, 20 plus years. Is if you had special effects back in the day, 99% of the time, all the big stuff was done by ILM. But even at the rate now that special effects are used throughout all of movies, there had to be so many other different effects companies pop up because ILM just literally cannot do it all.
No.
So some people from ILM split off and did other companies. Some, brand new people just started up other ones. And that's why when you watch like Avengers and stuff, look at all the credits, see how many different effects houses work on projects and stuff now. There's so many of them. Michael Bay even owns one. So there's so many companies out there that start like this. And this guy was a founder of one of the big ones. One of the big little ones, as they say, I guess.
Sure, it's almost like a boutique house.
Yeah, and it feels like they go, okay, this company does really well at all this stuff. This company does really well at this stuff, and that's when you see stuff like Avengers and there's like 15 different effects companies that all work on it. It's so astounding how smooth and just seamless everything is. It just shows you how amazing filmmaking is, in my opinion, because you put 15 different, musicians together in a room, see if you come up with something that's that's really good. It's usually like, oh, that's a mishmash of all kinds of junk.
You know what I rewatched the other day? I rewatched Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw that movie?
Ooh, probably when it just came out on Blu-ray. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I am very surprised with how poor some of the effects are in that movie on second glance. Because as you may remember or may not remember, I was not a huge fan of Doctor Strange because I'm not a huge fan of that character.
Yeah.
And so when I'm watching it and I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, there's a few times in that movie where you're just like, wow, like that they needed to spend more time on that. A few times. And so whenever that happens, what I think what's in my head is, oh, they had to rush this out in order to get this done on time. This movie doesn't feel that way. However, it's not the CG is just glaring at sometimes. Like it's not, especially for the time. I guess it's okay, it's passable.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like you're watching a movie that was rendered in a computer.
Yeah, especially when you get to like the vampire stuff. It's like there seems to be like no weight or super good interaction with them to where you really buy them as creatures and not CGI effects.
Right.
And that was one of the things, because we got two members of Lord of the Rings here. That's what made those first Lord of the Rings movies so good was they did everything. There was everything from makeup to CGI to forced perspective. They put all of the elements in there instead of just relying on CG like they did with the Hobbit movies, which they did majorly in CGI and stuff. And so, therefore, those movies don't nearly look as good. This movie, you're right, feels like a big giant blue screen, disaster here. But at least art style and everything, it looks good. It feels like it's not a cheap production. Like I said, it's $60 million. And for this type of movie, that is a lot of money. And it looks like they put every bit of it on screen, which is nice.
It does. It really does. And clearly somebody has a love for this movie. There's definitely a passion project happening. I just think that at some point they just they just were like, well, we have to do what we can with the money we have. And you feel it. You can feel it. And sometimes that works to the benefit of a movie, but it does not in this case, where, the big thing about the original Star Wars is that, we this is how we cut corners, and, it made us more creative, but that is not the case in this instance.
So it looks like Corey Goodman, the guy who actually wrote this, you're going to be really shocked here, wrote like at least one Underworld movie that I can see. So,
that is unsurprising.
Not surprising there. And also did a movie called Apollo 18, which was a found footage a space movie. What if we sent someone like another Apollo mission up, but we never told anybody about it? Here's the tapes. Like that's
what's not scary enough? What happened in real life to Apollo 13?
we need some aliens involved here somehow. Which, by the way, I rewatched probably about a month ago. I rewatched Apollo 13. Holy snot, does that hold up?
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about that movie is that they kind of had to add emotions to the guys in the rocket, because when you listen to the real life exchange happening, it's like they're ordering pizza because there's just no emotion, because that's the whole point about being an astronaut is you do not flip out under extreme circumstances. And so, when Hank starts yelling at the other astronauts and stuff, that never happened in real life, because the entire time Jim Lovell is like the most level-headed dude in the world, and they had to do something to make it interesting for the viewer.
When you go and you look at any Lovell interviews and stuff like that, he's just the most calm, matter-of-fact, just like, yep, that's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Like
Man,
he's so straightforward.
That guy was great.
He's like, that would be the dude that you would want to fight in the OK Corral, because he would just be like calm as a cucumber. Just go, I know what I got to do, and I'm just gonna do it.
As much as I enjoy watching Buzz Aldrin punch that conspiracy theorist guy in the face, and that's terrific. I'll never get tired of seeing that moment. It does betray, like, hey man, you're an astronaut. Like, what are you doing?
For me, it's like, why are you defending it that hard, man? You should just like, you should just blow them off. Like, to get to punching. I believe the moon landing happened. I want to make that abundantly clear. But why would you go so hard after somebody like that? It makes me feel like you've got something to hide. What are you trying to?
Well,
like,
I'll tell.
No.
I will tell you that I think that Buzz Aldrin loves being on camera, and that's why
true.
he did it.
Oh well, yeah. He was always kind of let me grab a little bit of attention here.
He's a bit of a showboat.
That's that guy. But yeah, this movie it's fine. It's oh my gosh, it was. How many movies have we seen now between the Mission Impossible stuff and the Fast and the Furious stuff? How many train sequences have we seen in movies?
Oh my Lord!
In the past 2.5
so many
months?
trains. So many trains.
Let's have a fight on top of a train. It's just like, or seriously, how many? Like I've seen more trains in the past 3 months than I've seen in my entire life. I think between all those movies, and you got Snowpiercer, it's all trains. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay for what it is, and I like the silly, crazy idea of like Maggie Q's got all these explosives and stuff, and they're gonna derail the train. So she rides her super fast bike all the way up to the front, plants all the bombs and stuff, and they're not. Of course, they can't detonate when they're supposed to, so she's got to put the bike in autopilot and have that go down and blow up the train as it goes. It's so stupid. It's so over the top, but there's something about it that if you like that kind of, corny, stupid action stuff, you'll have a good enough time with it, I think.
Well, I mean, again, it's not great. I would never recommend this movie to someone. And if somebody told me they saw it, my first response would be, not bad, right?
So it was raining that day, and then what? I can't do anything fun. Ah, shucks. Well, it's time to watch Priest, I guess. Who puts this on for fun? I want to meet that person. It just goes like, woo! All right, time for this month's Priest watching.
Well, the thing that I found, because I was snooping around to do deep dives on this because I didn't know how much I was going to have to talk about it. There really is no massive Priest fan, at least of this movie. There's no one who is all about this movie, like the rabid fans. Like maybe there's like a couple of people, but not to the point of Bruce talking about the Blob.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a the fandom line at Dragon Con would not be too awful long.
No.
You wouldn't have to be fighting them off going like, I need a good seat, got to get there early. No, you'll be all right.
I need to hear more stories about priests.
That are like sort of priests, but not really. I don't know how any of this works. One, you might have a daughter. We're not sure how any of this crap works. And I don't think the movie half does either, nor do I think you really care at the end of it, because no one's going like, well, wasn't his daughter this? But you don't care. Shut up.
Yeah.
There's no reason to. But we do need a reason to get to our next segment here, because everyone, I mean everyone on the planet wants to know how the movie Priest connects one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone.
Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. Nicholas Stern was a producer on Priest, and he's the son of actress Samantha Eggar, who was nominated for an Oscar in a movie called The Collector. But I know her best for her role as Mina in the 1963 television series Ghost Squad. Nicholas Stern started in the business as the personal assistant to the producer Paul Schiff on a movie called Bushwhacked, starring Daniel Stern in the movie that's so obviously made after Home Alone. The tagline on the movie poster should read, Daniel Stern was one of the wet bandits in Home Alone, and he's doing the same thing here. Look, I don't fault Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern should work as much as he wants. Is that his name, Daniel Stern? It looks Yeah, it is. If Hollywood is offering you a lot of money to star in a movie and you're Daniel Stern, take the money. Now, Nicholas Stern will go on to become a big-time executive producer, his first being the best zombie movie no one ever talks about called Warm Bodies. And he also was the executive producer of Ride Along, which is a movie that I have no feelings for whatsoever. And he would be executive producer on not one, but two Sylvester Stallone movies, those being Creed, which is a really good movie, and Escape Plan, which I haven't seen, and here's why. If you told me there was a prison movie that starred Vincent D'Onofrio, Sam Neill, and the Arab dude who played the bad guy in the first Iron Man movie, I'd be totally down to see that movie. But if you told me that there was a prison movie that stars Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vincent D'Onofrio, Sam Neill, and the Arab dude who was the bad guy in the first Iron Man movie, I have far less interest in your movie. And that's the case with Escape Plan. The fact that Stallone has made 3 Escape Plans make me want to watch it even less. I'm willing to admit that it might be one of my personal shortcomings, but I also know that I am not the only one with that shortcoming. Nicholas Stern's last movie was the Tiffany Haddish movie Like a Boss from 2020, so he's still mixing it up. And I'm sure once the apocalypse is cleared, he'll be making more movies that will make us all say, oh yeah, I remember that movie, but I can't remember if I saw it or not. And there you have it, Kovaxers. This week's Stallone connection is Nicholas Stern, producer, child of Hollywood, and most importantly, bringer of Stallone. I'm Sean Kovacs, and I like to make stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, Tiffany Haddish is she is the female version of Kevin Hart. Not so much that, I mean, obviously they're, comedic actors and stuff like that, but they're always playing themselves. They're very, very good at it, but you're not going to get too awful much beyond who they actually are. What they are is good, but you're not going to get a lot of stretching out of them. But
no, but I mean, that's who they are.
That's what they're in, and that's what the audience that likes their movies goes for. That's who they want to see.
And as long as people are still offering to give them money, they should make it while they can.
Absolutely. And Kevin Hart's growing. Kevin Hart is growing as an actor. Believe it or not, a really good performance from him is in that second Jumanji movie.
I'll never see it.
You
so
will.
I'll take
You
your word
shouldn't.
for it.
But all right, let's get down to it. Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out and be a part of our own little community, head on over to reddit.com/r/Hero Movie Podcast, or just put Hero Movie Podcast in the Reddit app if you got it. It'll show right on up, man. So join the crew and check out the Robin rating system, man. We really appreciate that. Where does I was almost going to say Legion because it reminds me of that. Where does Priest fall in the Robin rating system for you?
This movie is benefits from circumstance. That if I knew what I was getting into when I first turned the movie on, I probably wouldn't be nearly as charitable. I had fun watching this movie. That doesn't mean it's good. This is literally middle of the road, the most middle of a movie you can possibly make. This is a Damian Wayne. And it is, when it is good, when there are ideas that are fun, this movie is has a lot to recommend it. But some of the performances are awful. Every single cliche in a post-apocalyptic movie is there. And it's paint by numbers at times. And so for me, it's a Damian Wayne.
Yeah, for me, I'm going a little less on this, but yeah, I mean, all of your points are absolutely valid. I surely agree with. I still kind of go down a little notch. I'm going to go Stephanie Brown on this one. Hey, I'll say this, at least it's under 90 minutes. So you're not going to have to spend all day and a half, and really that would have been super terrible if this would have been one of those, 2:15 movies that's just you slogging all the way through it. At least it's done within a decent enough amount of time, and there's enough of a concept there and kind of a seed for the idea of what this could be, to where you can feel enough of the potential in it, if it doesn't exactly reach that potential at any particular point.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. Also, the other thing about this movie that is a total bonus is that it's super easy to find. Being on Netflix, that is just the best.
And because sometimes you got to look for movies, and we found our movie for next week on the YouTubes, so you can check it out.
It is on YouTube.
It's called The Puma Man. The only person that you'd probably recognize in it is Donald Pleasance. That's right. Donald, I will do anything for a Capri Sun and a ham sandwich, Pleasance. And so we'll be checking that out next week, as that is Sean's choice. In the meantime, where might we find more of your work on the internet?
Well, last week we had a big star on our show, on our final episode of Snowpiercer 30 Questions for season 1. And you should check that out if you haven't if you haven't been listening. It was a really fun interview with Jalen Fletcher and his brother Jamel, and it was just a delight. And it's fun to listen to because I listened to it this week. And it was just a really fun time. So go to Snowpiercer 30 Questions, and you will be able to hear that interview.
Yeah, it's a fun time, and it's so awesome that they know all of our crap. They listen to the podcast, so they were completely aware and get the format that we do. And honestly, something I was very surprised at. Bounced off with a lot of the humor back and forth with us, which
they sure did.
It was so much fun. So go check that out. And if you'd like to see a little extra of me, and get this, here's a little bonus for you. Check out Outside the Cinema wherever you find podcasts, or if you want to see the video of the I was kind of a guest host on Outside the Cinema, twitch.tv/Outside the Cinema. We talk about a little bit of everything from comic book movies to Star Wars to the lockdown and how we're dealing with it, and ways to just make life a little bit better, which spoiler alert, is called turning off the internet. That's the best way to make life a little bit better.
Agreed.
So go check that out wherever you find podcasts, or twitch.tv/Outside the Cinema. I am a guest host over there, and I really appreciate those guys. And they were ones that kind of coerced me into whether they know it or not to doing podcasting and stuff. I listened to them and I was like, hey, these guys are doing really well, and I took a lot of stuff from them, which is, from like recording live and not doing any, editing or anything like that. All from those guys. So check them out. They've been, guys, I think that show's been on for like 12 years or something. They've been killing it. So check them out.
12 years. Good job by them.
Yeah, and never missed a week. Not a single week, those guys. So
I can't say that.
Busting it hardcore. And like if you like genre flicks and stuff and like really deep diving into movies that you go, oh, no one's seen this, I can almost guarantee you they've probably reviewed it at some time if it's like a horror genre flick. So go check them out outside the cinema. That is
what
it.
It sounds like, Adam? It sounds like before Bruce and I saved you, it sounds like you were just making a clone of their show.
Well, I mean, there's some of it. Listen, I will point out to if anyone ever asks, I'll point out to you all the things of all the podcasts where I stole bits and stuff from, where I'm like, okay, that's what I did. That's what I suggest to anybody that does that. If you're trying to start a podcast, listen to podcasts, take elements from ones that you like, go, oh, I like this bit over here.
Absolutely.
I like this over here, and make your own deal of it, man. So that's it. Join us.
And then put your spin on it.
Yeah, put your own stank on it. You know what I'm saying? Because my stank is enough. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Puma Man for the absent Bruce Leslie. Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet. My name's Adam Porters. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.
A body scorned and broken, my soul rejected, tainted by his blood. Young redemption, a sinner not worth saving, forever taken.